I do not believe that mandating 2 additional years after fifth form makes sense. It doesn't make sense because what you really want to do, if you have the kind of resources to do that, is to put that in either early childhood education, primary, or in the secondary system itself. When students graduate grade 12, we should make sure that we are producing well-rounded, qualified students who are able to either make a choice of going on to post-secondary education, starting a job, or going into business for themselves. That is the kind of product that we want coming out of our high schools. Not a government who forces every single child to take 2 more years of secondary school. In fact, I think that we need to ask some questions around that. What has been the kind of discussion with parents, with schools? What is really driving it? Because the funding arrangements for that, that's really questionable. When I speak to schools, what I get from them is that every sixth form student, they're allocated between $17,000 and $19,000. What I'm now hearing for those students who are being placed in one of these institutions, tertiary institutions, is that it's $60,000 and above that is being allocated for that education. I mean, what is the logic there? What's happening there? And it begs the question, and therefore I can understand why there are some individuals are saying that this is simply a matter of trying to work with your unemployment numbers by putting all of these students into sixth form. I believe that the ministry needs to rethink it. I believe that it needs to be well thought out. If we are not satisfied with the percentage of students who are getting there, let's do something about that before we force every single child to go into 2 additional years of sixth form. And we all know that when it comes to whether it is education, anything you're doing in life, every milestone that you make should be celebrated. However small some might think it is, for some it's a huge step. Why would we deny our students, after all they have been through the pandemic, after all they have been through trying to survive and to complete their secondary education, the opportunity at this last moment of celebrating the end of that? It almost seems very punitive, and you know what I'm saying, Jamaica bad mind real? I mean, I don't understand how the Ministry of Education could come up with that. I really can't.
Are you of the view that principals should be held responsible for students who must be transferred to other schools in order to complete their sixth form studies?
I don't believe that either. If a high school is unable, for whatever reasons, to provide that additional 2 years, then if the school is unable to provide the additional 2 years, then they just simply are not able to do it. And therefore, an alternative needs to be found. So if a child is now being placed at an alternative institution, it should no longer be the responsibility of that high school.
What are some recommendations then that you give to the ministry in order to better implement their sixth form pathways plan, to better serve principals, students, and their parents?
The first thing is to be very clear on what you are hoping to achieve from this sixth form pathway that is being created. The second is to make sure that the product that we already have is serving its purpose. In fact, long before the pandemic struck, we knew that there were very unequal results in the education system. In fact, we have been talking about an apartheid in education for quite some time. That needs to be remedied. Work needs to be done there before we talk about an additional 2 years. Also, I believe our students, our parents, and our teachers need to be part of that conversation. It isn't something that is to be done as they have approached it.